Fantastic. All right. Well, look at us here, 8:45 on this lovely 12th of July, and we are ready to get started with our July Health Innovation Community Partnership meeting. We are so excited to have you all here with us today. I know more people are continuing to join, and so we'll continue to admit them through the rest of the meeting, but we are ready to get started. Um, just a few little tips, tech tips and notes before we get started. As we all know, this meeting is being recorded, and the recording and the presentation materials will be posted to our hicpla.org website in about a week's time. We do want our meeting to be interactive. We want you to all engage with our speakers and presenters, but we do ask that you please mute yourself unless you are speaking, and you can control your audio and video functions on the toolbar at the bottom. We ask you to put your video on if you're comfortable doing so, so we can see each other. And then, of course, when we get to the appropriate moments of the conversation, please raise a hand to contribute a question to our conversation. You're always welcome to participate in the chat as well. And of course, we do simultaneously conduct our meeting in Spanish. So please select the interpretation globe at the bottom of the screen to participate in the language of your choice. As we kick things off, I just want to wish everyone a very happy July. We all celebrated in different ways the 4th last week. Also, just some fun notes about the month of July. This is also National Ice Cream Month, National Hot Dog Month, National Picnic Month, and National Berry Month. So I hope you take advantage of all the wonderful things that are available to us this summer season. Stay cool. Stay safe, but please enjoy the wonderful summer weather. I did want to make a quick announcement before we get too far into our meeting today. We will not be hosting an August HICP meeting. As has been done in the past, we will be going dark that month as people are finishing up summer vacations, getting kids ready for school. We know it's a very, very busy time, but we're delighted to look forward to our September 4th meeting, which will be back to a hybrid model. We will be inviting you all to join us in person at the Los Angeles General Inpatient Tower conference rooms, or of course, you are going to be invited to participate via Zoom. Let's take a look at our agenda for the day. We're starting off with our registration and welcome. We'll go into our meeting overview and guiding principles. Then we'll have our regular update from hospital CEO Jorge Orozco about what's going on at Los Angeles General. We'll have a quick announcement about some upcoming community events, and then we'll have a longer presentation about some updates about our campus projects, including the Restorative Care Village and our Centennial Project. Then we'll talk a little bit about workforce training opportunities with our colleagues from the Los Angeles City College District. Then we have two wonderful transportation updates. And we'll conclude the presentations today with a bit of a conversation about some issues related to senior health and wellness in our community. We've invited our colleagues from the Department of Public Health, as well as Mexican American Opportunity Foundation, to share with us some of the things that they have observed and learned about senior health and the services that are available to support seniors in our community. So it's a very full agenda. As always, I'll ask all of our speakers to, stay with your time limits, but please pace yourself so our interpreter can keep up with you. As we begin our meeting today, I'll go ahead and read aloud our HICP guiding principles. All participants agree to basic principles prioritizing equity, community resilience, and health in all programs and projects. All participants agree to approach issues with an open mind, be willing to engage in dialogue, and commit to thinking boldly about solutions. Participants will state views and ask genuine questions. Participants will seek to avoid monologues and arguments, move to conversations where participants are curious and seek to understand various points of view. Participants will explain reasoning and intent, share how we reach our conclusions so that others can understand our divergent reasoning. Participants will attack the problem and not the person, organization, or institution. Participants will define key terms so that we can attain a shared understanding. Participants will share all relevant information. Participants will always arrive prepared for the meeting. During meetings, only one person speaks at a time. We will not engage in sidebar conversations. Participants will work to develop a comprehensive, common set of information with which to solve problems and make decisions. Participants will jointly design next steps. And with that, I'm always so excited to welcome Jorge Orozco to speak with us today and share some of what's going on at the Los Angeles General Medical Center. Welcome, Jorge.
Thank you so much. I am always honored to be here and to present a few updates on what's going on at LA General. Next slide. We were so excited to participate in the Pride Parade this year, and LA General joined a group from the Department of Health Services in really celebrating this diversity, inclusion, and community. We do this every year, and we're excited to participate again next year. Next. Just some updates on our rebranding. As you all know, we went through a significant effort to rebrand our hospital from LAC USC Medical Center to Los Angeles General Medical Center, and the work is ongoing. One of the things that we've been working on is signage on streets and freeways, and we're very excited to report that the signage on the streets, I think we've addressed all of them. But if you all sort of find some old signs, please let us know. We are still working on with Caltrans on signage from the freeway exits. And hopefully soon we'll have some updates to give you all on that. And the other is, as you notice on our campus, we still have temporary banners up on the sides of our buildings. And we've been working to get the regulatory approval to install a permanent signage. And so we've received that. The vendor is starting work on construction of the permanent sign. So we hope within 6 weeks we'll have the permanent signs up. Next slide. Summer is here and it's hot. And so I think there's a lot of questions, and we're so excited to have Dr. Emily Johnson, our Associate Medical Director of Emergency Medicine here at LA General, give us an update on what's going on, what are we seeing, and hopefully answer any questions you all might have. Emily?
Yeah, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's really special to be part of this group. I am one of the attending doctors in our emergency department at LA General. When the heat rises every year, we start to see patients coming in with heat-related illness. Most of the time, those are folks who are out in the elements during the heat of the day, who maybe haven't had a chance to get to a cooler environment. And so when you're thinking about planning your day or talking to your loved ones, friends and family, making sure that you make those plans for the early morning or the late hours can keep you out of our emergency department with those heat-related illnesses. We often see patients who are coming in who maybe aren't able to respond to their body's cues as effectively. So folks who maybe are a little bit older, young children, people who maybe are under the influence of substances like excessive alcohol use or substance use. Those are folks who are more vulnerable to heat related illness. And so we try to take extra care. If you know of anyone in those groups, if you are friends or family with someone who drinks alcohol regularly or is elderly, those would be people to check in on a little bit more regularly during these summer seasons. I'm happy to take any questions, and I can share in the chat a nice, helpful little summary of things to look for with heat-related illness from the Department of Public Health in English and Spanish, if that would be helpful for the group.
Thank you, Emily. We would love that. Thank you so much. And then we can make sure to include that in our meeting materials too that we send out after the meeting. So thank you. I appreciate it. Do we have any questions for Dr. Johnson about how to stay safe as the summer heat index goes up, as those temperatures rise in the months ahead? I think we're good. Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson, for joining us today. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much. We are excited to share a little information about our new program where we have valet services for our patients who are attending clinic appointments. This is a free service for our community. Our community of patients really had a hard time finding parking, and we really felt it was important for us to be responsive to those needs. We want our campus to be accessible. And just to give you a sense, we're averaging in the mid 500s cars a week that are being parked by our valet service. And if you go to the next slide, just to give you a sense of some of the responses from our patients. It's awesome. It's the best idea. I don't know how you handled setting this up, but it's awesome. In the past, we would come close to 2 hours before our appointments, but now we can come only a little early and still be on time. It's a quick service, so appreciated, really appreciated. And then in Spanish, la atención es muy buena, todos son muy amables y hablan español. Estoy contenta con el trato y valet parking gratis, todo muy bien. So the response has been overwhelmingly positive on this. And as we look at our parking situation, we're now noticing that because many of our patients are using valet parking, the other parking lots are less impacted. And so it's had an impact on accessibility of parking across our campus. So we're very excited about that. Next slide. We recently had a visit from the Defense Health Board, and this is a board, is a federal advisory committee to the Secretary of Defense, and it provides advice and recommendations on matters pertaining to the Department of Defense, health-related matters. And their focus coming to LA General, and as many of you know, we have an amazing Navy trauma training program where we have Navy surgeons, nurses, other medical professionals embedded within LA General as part of their training. And so this meeting with the Defense Health Board really focused on brainstorming on ways to expand the service, ways to improve the service, et cetera. But we're very excited to be part of this very important training program. We also participated in the Los Angeles County Arts and Health Week Summit, and I was very excited to be part of that because we have a lot to be proud of at LA General in the way we integrate art into the healing environment, as the way we use art to engage our community. And so we were happy to share our campus art program, also the Sobrevivir program, and art piece, and also a lot of the work that was done at Rancho Los Amigos National Rehab Center as the way of using art as part of the rehab process. And with that, I'm happy to respond to any questions or thoughts.
Thank you for joining us as always, Jorge. Do we have any comments or questions for Jorge on any elements of his presentation or things maybe we didn't include that you have questions and want to know more about?
Heather, there's a couple of questions in the chat. Teresa Velasco, good to hear from you. Good to see you on. Asking, since the Wellness Center is not a cooling center, right? Since LA General and the Wellness Center is not a cooling center, do we know where the nearest cooling centers are located?
Ooh, good question. I don't know. Does anyone on the line know where are these officially designated cooling centers?
Yeah, this is Kelly Lobianco. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Kelly.
Let me go ahead and put the map in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah. One
Thank
second.
you so much.
Thank you, Kelly.
So thank you for catching that, Rosa. Any additional questions or comments? Oh, yep. There we got Edgar Solis, also from our medical center, sent through an excessive heat announcement, and Kelly joined us with the locations of the cooling center. So thank you so much. This is exactly what we love to see happen at our HICP meetings. Questions are raised, and we have the answers in the room with us, which is fantastic. Looks like we have a question, a hand raised from Maria Arellano. Maria, please ask your question.
Sí, yo tengo una pregunta. Buenos días. Quería saber cuál era, no me quedó muy claro la participación de Rancho Los Amigos. ¿Podría dar un poco
Of
más?
Rancho Los Amigos. Can you please give more information in regards to that?
A ver, voy a intentar responder en español. Sí, Rancho
I'm
Los
going to
Amigos.
try to answer in Spanish. Well, Rancho Los Amigos is one of the 4 hospitals that are part of the LA County. And Rancho Los Amigos, there are programs. Our programs are programs that are integrated within the rehab of the patients that have suffered brain damage or back or paralysis. And this is a very important program in which gives you the opportunity not just to rehab your muscles and your movement, but also to reintegrate your stories, their stories and passions about art. And every year they have an exhibition that the patients would they sell their art to the community. And actually that exhibition was yesterday, last night. Last night we had that exhibition.
Should I translate, Heather, or is that?
No, it's fine. Edgar was able to translate for those of us who don't speak Spanish and couldn't follow along in that language.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you so much for that incredible story, Jorge. I didn't realize that there was a component where the patients of Rancho are invited to share and even sell their works. How exciting. That must have been a beautiful event last night. Do we have additional questions or comments? We do have, and thank you, Dr. Johnson, for sharing the recommendation also to look at local libraries as other cooling spaces spread throughout our communities. Ari, I see a hand raised. Ari, would you like to ask your question?
Yes. Yes. I've noticed the valet. I see that they're very, very busy. But I also noticed that it feels like more people are jaywalking to cross that street. I'm wondering if there's a way to monitor that, or it's just a safety issue there. I always try to wait for the people who are approaching or coming, because nobody stops at the corner. At the crosswalk, they just keep walking. Also, I noticed that there's a parking area for the child care center, and those spots all seem to be used. I don't know if they're actually employees, but I noticed that including the handicap spots are taken. I actually had to go in the middle of the day, and there was no place to park. Also, I noticed that on State Street, in front of the wellness center, there's a lot of red curb, and I was awarded a parking ticket for parking on a red curb yesterday. Is $98. But my point is that there is not enough room for the child care center pickup and drop offs. So as I told the meter, the ticket writer, I said, if you come here at, drop off time and pickup time, you'll score big time on tickets, because there is not enough room. So anyway, all that is kind of something to manage. I know the child care center is not part of the general hospital, but it all has to do with parking and access. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Ari, thank you so much for that feedback. This is an ongoing challenge on our campus, and I can tell you that we are looking at crosswalks and crosswalk safeties, and where we place stop signs and speed bumps, and so we will look specifically on the impact that the valet service has had on that. In terms of the pickup and drop off slots that were allocated for the child care center. Yeah, those are exclusively for child care center pickups and drop-offs. And we certainly can do an assessment to see who is parking on there. We're always challenged by having individuals who aren't supposed to be parking somewhere, parking there. We have some employees who park in patient lots. And so we're constantly monitoring that and trying to improve that. But we will look at those things. And I'm so sorry for that ticket. I know Edgar Solis. I don't know if he has anything to add, who has oversight over our campus.
Hi, Jorge. And hi, everyone. Nothing to add, but we do. Jorge just stated it correctly, but our security staff is also, and our sheriff partners that are on site are also tasked to ensure that all folks are following the posted signs for parking, and also traffic control. But Ari, thanks for bringing that up. Well, I'll work personally with our security team and our sheriff's office and our parking enforcement team to evaluate those areas.
Thank you. Another question I have, Jorge, is I remember when you first came to work, you talk about the kind of internship program that you participated in when you were I think in high school. So I'm wondering if I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was a volunteer at the medical center.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if there is a program like that, or maybe a more formal program for people who want to enter the medical field. I know I know of a student who is actually participating in a program with MTA, and I'm like, oh, that's great. They have those programs. It's very formal. But this person wants to be a doctor. I'm like, oh, you should be at General Hospital. So I'm like, oh, I don't know that they have, or how even to get involved with to refer her.
Right. So great question. We have had many sort of linkage programs. We have a very close relationship with Bravo Medical Magnet across the street. And they, through our volunteer services, have a very formalized program to get them exposed to healthcare careers and hospital settings. We've also had paid internships in partnership with with LA City that links in high school kids, I believe young college individuals as well, with healthcare professionals. So we're constantly looking at ways to formalize these programs. I can provide an update or send out an update via email on programs that may exist right now. I don't know if our volunteer services department is on just to give us a little bit more detail. But if anyone is interested, our volunteer services is always accepting applications for volunteer services, and they can, as part of their assignments, be assigned to certain areas of the hospital.
I have to say that when my wife was in the hospital recently, not in this hospital, but at another one, it was actually a high school student that helped her a lot in moving in and out and any extra stuff. And when I went to pick her up, I'm like, why do you know this kid so much? And you know everything about him. And I'm like, oh, well, he's in high school and he's, his whole family did this program. So now it's his turn. And so he's just here. And so he ended, so, so I think that's very helpful to the patients as well. So just putting that out there.
Great.
The more the better.
They are absolutely a great value to our medical center. Thank you.
Thank you, Ari, for raising those really important points relating to, safety and access on our campus, but also the workforce opportunity, which is something we'll be exploring a little bit later in our conversation today. I also wanted to note that Ana Anna Rao, I'm so sorry. I'm really stumbling over that last name. My apologies. Anna shared with us an email address with a pipeline opportunity for teens that are interested in exploring the medical sector. So please take advantage of copying that email address if you're interested in learning more. All right. Well, thank you again, Jorge and Dr. Johnson, for being with us today and
Thank
sharing.
you.
And we'll continue on with our presentation. So we wanted to just take a quick little second to invite you to join us for some upcoming events. Anthony, you want to share out our upcoming event next week?
Of course. Thank you so much, Heather. Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. I was really excited to share that the HIVE program, so that's the HIV Education and Empowerment Program at the Wellness Center, will be hosting our Providers and Peers Town Hall next Friday from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at Legacy LA. For folks who don't know, Legacy LA is pretty central to where we are on the campus, so it's across the street from us, as well as across the street from USC Keck, so pretty accessible. But basically, we're going to be having a town hall that invites medical providers at LA General, as well as other local LA care providers, to have a conversation with LGBTQ community members. This town hall will focus specifically on Latinx, gay, bisexual, queer, and trans folks, but we'll be encompassing all members of our community in this conversation. But basically, we're just having a very organic, direct, honest conversation about the problems that exist in medical institutions, how we can improve care for our community, and really get to the root of the obstacles and problems that we encounter, both in terms of being a provider and delivering that care, in terms of being a community member and receiving that care. So it's gonna be a great bi-directional conversation. I'm really excited. And the reception will start at 5:30 p.m. So that's when the food and the dinner service will be starting. So from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., you can kind of trickle in and get a drink, socialize, have some small bites and some yummy little food. And then panel will be at 6:30 p.m. So we'll be having a facilitated panel with some members of our nursing and medical staff here at LA General, as well as some of the members of my cohort who are community members in the community doing this work. And then at 7:30 p.m. we'll have an open forum. So attendees in the event will be invited to share their perspectives, have a conversation with the panelists directly, and engage in an overall encompassing conversation between the panelists and the audience. So we're really excited and we really encourage and invite y'all to join us. And the registration link, it can be scanned with that QR code, and I can also follow up and add the registration link directly in the chat. But thank you so
Great.
much, Heather.
Thank you, Anthony. Yeah, we're really excited about our ending the HIV epidemic cohorts are really community-led interventions, and the Latinx MSM cohort that Anthony champions is really invested in this dialogue. This was their selected project to have dialogue with medical providers to elevate the level of care that's available to the Latinx MSM members of our community. So really appreciating the opportunity for this space and inviting you all to come join us next Friday night at Legacy LA. We also have another upcoming event at the Wellness Center. For your awareness, we are going to be hosting a movie night and a backpack giveaway and a get ready for school event on Friday, August 2nd. It'll be on the steps in front of the Historic General Hospital, an outdoor event. We'll be distributing about 500 backpacks with school supplies. We also have haircuts, eye exams, and vaccinations, just to make sure all of our kids are school ready by the time school starts in August. And the movie we'll be showing this year is Trolls. So we invite everyone to come out and join us for a lovely outdoor evening event. Now we're ready to move on to the bulk of our presentation, and I'm super excited to welcome colleagues of ours from Prime Store to tell us a little bit about some updates in the progression of our Centennial Project. Leandro and Giovanna, welcome to HICP.
Hi, Heather, and hello, everyone. A very good morning. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here and to have the opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Giovanna Araújo. I joined Prime Store Centennial Partners this month as a full-time dedicated project manager for this project. I will be serving as the central steward for all project-related activities, making sure that everything is getting done and everything is getting done right, and with you all front and center. I'm a first-generation immigrant from Sao Paulo, Brazil, who, like many of us here, found a welcoming home in Los Angeles. And having grown up in an under-resourced community, I know just how vital and important and critical projects like this really are. I'm a trained architect, and my background is focusing on environmental and social justice through the built environment. And I know that this project really has an opportunity to have incredible rippling effects for our city, for generations to come and beyond, in the messages that will send and inspire. So I'm really proud, if we can move here to the next slide, to have joined the Prime Store team. We share the same values of making sure that this work is done with honesty, integrity, community at front and center, diversity, and really thinking about what it is that's needed and using development and the tools of it to deploy what is necessary and what's being asked of us for the betterment of our society. And with that, I would like to pass on to Claudia Cardenas, who's my colleague and our Director of Community Outreach, so she can give us an update on how we're thinking about approaching this work and what's coming for the next 30 days.
Thank you, Giovanna. Good morning, everyone. My name is Claudia Cardenas. I am the Director of Community Outreach for Prime Store. I have been with the Prime Store team for the past 27 years. So I do bring some, a wealthy set of community engagement goals that are incorporated into all of our projects. As you can see from this slide, I'm not going to read each one of them, but we do establish some basic goals as we commence in each of our projects, and then we build on that based on what the community expresses are their own goals for the project. So we are always ensuring that we are in contact, in constant contact with the community, and that there is a dialogue for the community to really be a full partner in the projects that we are working on for this redevelopment of the LA County Hospital. As mentioned, I've been with the company for 27 years, and another connection that I have to this project that is very near and dear to my heart is that I was actually born at the LA County General Hospital, or LA General Medical Center now. So it is extremely important to me that we get this right, that we do right by the community. If we can go to the next slide, please. We do have hit the ground running. We are building on all of the work that has already been done as part of the redevelopment of the site. So we're really looking forward to commencing to connect with stakeholders and community members. This will be ongoing throughout all the phases of the project, and even beyond, because we always stay on after the projects are completed, and we build a programming we build programming around what the community expresses are their wants and needs. So for the next 30 days, we have already started to review the information and community engagement that has happened to date. We want to make sure we understand what has already been expressed by the community. We are starting to connect with the community members and stakeholder groups, and we will be preparing a draft calendar of events for the remainder of 2024 that will include our participation in any events that are already happening at the campus, as well as our own hosted events for our direct connection with the community. Giovanna?
Yes, and another update we have is that the ENA has now been fully executed. So our consulting teams, our architects and engineers have begun analyzing and onboarding all of the information that has already been produced alongside the community, and setting the ground running so that we can begin to translate and synthesize those and have a strong feedback loop for this technical study phase, and to produce any of the content that will be necessary to move the project forward. Next slide, please. Claudia. Yeah.
This is our contact information. Feel free to send us any questions or anything that you want to make us aware of. We're in it for the long haul, so we're available via email or telephone. Happy to connect with all of you.
Thank you so much, Claudia and Giovanna. We're so excited to, again, you guys are going to be with us for the long haul. We know this, and we look forward to regular presentations from you as we move through this process together. But we're very delighted to welcome you to the partnership. Kelly, I see your hand raised.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you, Giovanna and Claudia. Really appreciate it. Kelly Lobianco, Director of the LA County Department of Economic Opportunity. We're working on the General Hospital and West Campus project with our partners at Prime Store and Centennial Partners. I just wanted to reiterate how excited we are to have hit the milestone of signing our ENA. We brought that before the board on June 25th. Like I've told you before, I like to celebrate early and often, but these are good things and really cements our partnership and all the work that we're going to be doing together with you. And so I think this is really like a formal moment in which you're going to see us a lot more in a lot of new and fun ways, and excited to get your feedback and continue on this journey together. But thank you so much, and I'll pass back to you, Heather.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And does anyone else have any comments or questions they'd like to raise about the Centennial Project?
Good morning, everyone. It's Rosa Soto. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone for your presentation this morning, and so glad that it's finally official that we are in partnership with Prime Store in reimagining this general hospital opportunity. And just, wanted to make sure to share with the partners that we will be communicating with Prime Store the list of partners who have expressed interest in being part of discussions and opportunities. So rest assured that we will be connecting on this front and connecting back to each of you in collective ways, and also, in those specific ways wherever appropriate. So welcome, Prime Store, and thank you so much, county partners and DEO, for your opportunity in facilitating this great partnership.
I see a hand raised by Elizabeth. Would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say thank you, and just thank you to the Prime Store team. I know we had a meeting about 6 weeks ago. I'm from the Eastern Los Angeles Regional Center for when we serve individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We are excited for potential partnership and collaboration on this project in so many ways, and so just so appreciative to see this rolling out, and look forward to being at the table with you as you move forward. Thank you so much. So exciting. I met with our board of directors last week and told them about the potential, and we are just totally on board. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for that ringing endorsement, because we too share that similar enthusiasm for the incredible next steps that lay ahead. Let's see, I do see.
There's a comment. Yeah, there's a comment from Teresa. How are you, Teresa? Do you mind expanding on your comment? Do you have a chance to help us with that?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm not on camera. I apologize.
That's okay.
Yeah, so I think moving forward and revitalizing the campus is amazing. I just if you're not, again, I've stressed this before, this meeting's at 9:45. Most employees can't take 2 hours to attend. So if there can be something set up for the employees on campus to know what's going to be happening in their backyard, I think they would appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, Teresa, we're working through the co-design and also through partners like you to think about how we can engage our community here on campus, as well as our broader community. And so we'll be designing an entire engagement plan, right? So these meetings do happen 8:45 to 11. I'm sorry, to 10:45 every month, but but again, there's going to be other ways in which the actual engagement opportunity around General Hospital will be the center of discussion. So, so more to come. This is more for updates. And remember, the recordings for these meetings also are always available on our website, and we are able to then prepare responses and support as needed, but we will take into account your comment into co-design and discuss how we might make our meeting more accessible. Maybe we have an evening meeting, maybe we do, so I think this is sort of what you were getting at, right? Is can we figure out engagement opportunities for all shifts at the hospital?
Yeah, again, it would be sad for an employee not to know what's happening on campus. So the sooner that they can know, the better. I've shared this before where maybe an employee doesn't want to go through all the construction that's, that's to come, and they want to transfer. They would, if they can have that time to know what's going on. So then if that's, something that they want to look forward to doing, just as an example, I mean, everyone that works at LA General, feels it as their home, but in that same sentence, they should know what's going on as well. Thank you.
That's right, Teresa. And we are going to take all of that into account. We've also talked with Leandro and team about, potentially coming to the farmers market, potentially having, signage and things that people can sort of give reflection and opportunity to. Next week at Town Hall for our campus, I'll be reminding folks about the HICP and again, sort of this opportunity to engage in various ways. And then again, as opportunities come up, we will make sure that we give people ample time to be able to be informed about them and then be able to hopefully join us. Some of those meetings may also happen on campus, maybe in conference room A and B, like we've done in the past, and have happening after hours, right? Or after a shift. So we'll keep talking to you and to others who are interested to make sure that we do this well. Thank you so much for your comments, Teresa.
All right. Well, thank you so much for those comments, those questions. It always enriches our conversation to get different perspectives. We love that. That's why we're here together. We're going to move on with our next set of campus projects for discussion, and we're delighted, as always, to welcome Alicia Ramos from the Department of Public Works to give us a bit of a heads up on what is coming next steps for the Restorative Care Village phases 4 and 5. We're also joined today by Damian Parker and Anton Moore from the Department of Mental Health and Department of Public Health, respectively, and our colleague Isidro Villanueva from the Department of Economic Opportunity, all of whom play a role in the future of what's going to happen in Restorative Care Villages 4 and 5. So we have a rich set of individuals available to answer questions you may have, but we'll let Alicia kick it off with her presentation.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate the time and the opportunity to present to you some of the projects that are up and coming. So we're going to dive into projects relative to the Restorative Care Village. And I just want to mention to folks, we're always trying to start out the presentation as though we could have folks here for the first time. So I apologize that some of the images and information may be redundant for those of you who have been attending the probably past 2 or 3 meetings. But again, like to take the approach that we could have new people today. And so we always want to give some background. So just to start off, the focus of the new projects is on the northwest area of the campus. And what we see here circled in red is Restorative Care Village Phase 1, which completed in 2022, and it is in service. What you see in the blue square to the left are the upcoming projects, which both are now currently contracted for. So we refer to them as Phase 4 and Phase 5. Phase 4, you're going to start to see some grading activities there on site. Phase 5, we just recently contracted for. So let's dive into a little bit of detail. Next slide. Thank you, Heather. Okay, so what you see in the blue down in the lower right-hand side of your screen is Phase 4, which consists of the Mental Health Urgent Care Center and Residential Withdrawal Management Facility. That is a 2-story building, and it does contain 32 beds. And this is a joint operation. So this building will be hosted by both Department of Mental Health and Department of Public Health. And we have representatives today that can tell you a little bit more about the services there. So I'm just going to concentrate on the buildings and the development themselves. In the red, we have phase 5, which is the psychiatric subacute facility, which we imagine to be 3 stories high, and it'll be providing 96 beds. We just recently contracted for that development. This past Tuesday, the board awarded the contract for the design builder, and I'll get into a little bit of that. What I also want to highlight is in yellow. This is still something that we do not necessarily have all the official sign-offs and what have you, but we're really highlighting that this strip of land that you see in the yellow, it is owned by the city of Los Angeles, but it has such an integral component to being on the campus. So while it's owned by the city, we also have some easements connected to that land because we do have utilities running through there, largely Department of Water and Power. But we're recognizing that this component of land does play an integral part to the introduction to the campus. It's right on the corner of zonal admission. And so we're very hopeful that conversations with the city will lend itself to the development as being part of not just the phase 4 and phase 5, but kind of an overall sort of welcoming entry, because directly across at a diagonal, we have the phase 3 permanent supportive housing. So just want to highlight, this is something that we're working on. I don't want to in any way put out the perception that this is something that's been signed off, approved, and ready to go. We are having discussions about this land because we do feel it's so integral to the campus. Next slide, Heather. Thank you. So these are just some images of phase 4 renderings, what we are projecting that 2-story building could look like. Let's go ahead to the next slide, Heather. Also conceptual renderings for phase 5, which is the larger facility. And then the next slide, Heather. These are some interiors, again, conceptual. We're still in the design process, but we really want to enhance that interior space. 1 for the patients, 2 for the staff that do so much hard work, good work there. We want to make sure that these environments are good for patient care, wellness, recovery, but also we really focus on the staff. This is their day-to-day environment. Having staff happy with the environment, having them being able to be in a space that gives them the ability to do their best work is something that we hold really high in our priorities. Next slide, Heather. And this image here I'm including, I'm going to try and get the developers to give me a picture that could show this in daylight. I appreciate that they're showing it in sort of the dusk time. But this kind of highlights that corner of Mission and Zonal, that piece of land that's owned by the city right now, because that kind of shows you it is integral to how do we perceive the campus there. And so we really want to see what we can do to develop that. Next slide, Heather. Okay, and just to give you an update on schedules, we are on target with the schedules that we projected for both phase 4 and phase 5. Phase 4, the 2-story building, we've already begun to do some grading on site. But you're going to start to see more activity happening towards the end of this summer. In fact, we will be looking at a groundbreaking ceremony at the end of this month. We still have not pinned down the exact date, but it looks like it's either going to be July 31st or possibly August 1st. So we will get that information confirmed and over to the HICP as soon as it's confirmed. Phase 4 will complete at the end of 2025, and we expect it to go into service fall of 2026. Phase 5, like I said, we just recently contracted, so we're very excited. This past Tuesday, the board awarded the contract to the design builders, so now we actually have them under contract. We're starting to set up some meetings to start talking more detail about the community component and that strip of land that I talked about. We're looking to start construction in early 2025. Completion will be at end of 2026 and then into operation about winter of 2027. Next slide, Heather. Okay, and I know we're going to hear a little bit more from Isidro, but wanted to highlight with the contracts for phase 4 and phase 5. When I say contracts, these are the contracts that we hold with the design builders. Design builders are brought on board to finish the design. We only take the design to a certain extent, and then when we contract with this developer entity, they complete the design and then they do the construction. So in each of those contracts, we have 2, one for phase 4, one for phase 5. we include a community workforce agreement. And I want to spend a little bit of time to just explain what that is. A community workforce agreement is a fairly new development in the county. We've now had them probably the past 3 years, but more prolifically in the last year. We really applied it across a policy-wide application. What that means is that it's the workforce component to this contract. There are certain routes that the design builder needs to facilitate in order to bring labor onto the project. And that means that they're very connected to the labor unions. And we're going to talk more about the flow, the pipeline of jobs coming into these projects. But the labor unions, the trade unions, they're very integral to the training, the ability to certify that we have quality builders out there. They go through training. Anybody who's interested in construction trades, there are schools, trade schools that can start to train folks down a path of construction work. These projects are very sophisticated. We don't expect that folks are just going to come on for the first time and that's the start of their career in construction. Most folks are going to come on to these projects are because they've had experience in the trades that they represent, whether it's electrical, mechanical, framing. All of these trades start in an apprenticeship type program. And so what CWAs do is they say the design builder has to route their ability to pick up labor through these unions so that there's a pipeline of training and there's a pipeline of opportunity that comes with that. So we can talk more about that. But let me go into the second item that you see on the screen, which is the local targeted worker hire. Both of these projects have placed an aspirational goal to go above and beyond the board policy of 30%. Whenever we have projects over $2.5 million in budget, we are required to, at a minimum, bring on board 30% local hire. These projects have pushed beyond that. We're asking for an aspirational 20% beyond. So we're hoping that we can bring in 50% of our workforce as local. And we went through some details as to what's considered local previously, but I don't want to go too far into it because Isidro may be speaking more about this following me. The targeted worker hire, this is for folks who have in the past or for some reason in their background, they have some obstacles to employment. It could be that they may have been involved with sort of justice involved elements. These could be people who are still looking to fulfill their high school diploma, things that in the past have been an obstacle to hiring. This is really a gateway to help those folks get past those obstacles. And so we look for at least 10% of our workforce to represent that population. Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead to the next slide, which we intended for questions, but I think Heather might be best that we go ahead with the other presentations and we can maybe collectively answer questions, but I'm going to leave that to you, Heather.
Sure, absolutely. I'm happy to, stop sharing screen, and if one of the other members of your group has slides to share, we'll let them take it away.
Hello. Do you mean for the next presentation? Sorry, Heather.
Yeah. Hey, Nate. So welcome. We're not quite to you yet. But
Okay, cool. I just
stay
wasn't
tuned.
sure what you were saying. Okay.
Yeah, no, not at all. We're talking here about, our restorative care village phases 4 and 5. Alicia, I think yours were the only formal slides for this presentation. I don't believe that we have anything from DPH, DMH, or DEO, but if any of your colleagues have comments they want to share, if you do have visuals, please, we're happy to welcome them.
Sure. Do we have anybody from DMH, DPH that would like to speak to the services?
Yes, hi everybody. This is Anton Moore. Let me see if I can get my video working. As I said, my name is Anton Moore and I am representing Department of Public Health. Hi everyone. We will be offering residential withdrawal management services once construction is complete and the facility has been licensed. As I think I've shared with this group before, Department of Public Health Substance Abuse Prevention and Control Bureau contracts out its services 100%, so there are no direct services. So a community-based vendor will be solicited for the residential withdrawal management. It will be a 32-bed facility approximately, which will offer residential and withdrawal management services. And withdrawal management is most associated, we mostly know it as detox. So they'll stay about 14 days or so and then be referred for additional services. So that's what we'll be offering. We're really excited about this opportunity to partner with DMH and DPW on this effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anton. We really appreciate you joining us today. We know we'll be seeing more of you as this project comes into its fulfillment, and we're very excited about bringing these additional resources to our campus. I did see one question in the chat, which I'll raise. I think it's really more directed at you, Alicia.
Sure.
Ari's asking about the plans for art and community-facing art as an incorporated element to the new buildings.
Yeah, thank you, Ari. Okay, I'll go ahead. Ari, thank you for the question. We are in communication with Department of Arts and Culture. Grace Gaston has been our contact. She's been a part of the initial RCV phase 1. So we are collecting with her team to see where we start the process for the civic arts. Because we have a separated site, meaning we have one site, but we have 2 projects. We have both phase 4 and phase 5. We want to approach this as sort of a collective because it really forms kind of one smaller campus among the larger campus. So now that we've got the phase 5 design builder on board, we can start to look at the civic art process in terms of timing. And also part of what we do is once we have those design builders on board, we like to see where there's potential synergy, meaning what is the design for the building and where there are really good streamlined opportunities to say, here's a real good feature or showcase component of the building so that the artist can get a better sense of where the best places, opportunities to place their art, what might that art medium be, best fitted. So we're right at the threshold, Ari, of being able to take next steps with civic art. We will certainly be bringing that to this group. So I'll be having conversations with Grace in the coming, I would say, 2 weeks to start setting up that process. So more to come, lots more to come on that one, Ari.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alicia. I see that Isidro has added the community workforce agreement language into our chat. And we also have a question from Brittany for Anton. What is the time frame on the detox beds? Is there information I can find online about the new program? Okay, so maybe it's really more a joint question for Alicia as well as Anton, because I think it's more about the when we think that those detox beds might be open and available to community.
So let me speak first to the construction because I know Anton and her folks they can't do anything until that construction's done. So with phase 4, which includes the Department of Public Health, thank you, Heather, for bringing that back on screen. Phase 4 is where we want to focus. We expect to complete at the end of 2025. That means the building's done, but there's still a licensing process that has to take place. We're projecting that fall of 2026 is when that licensing process would be done, and then it could be open for operation. But when we give that timeline, fall of 2026, we kind of look to that being more like the longer case scenario. We're hopeful that we can accomplish this sooner, but I'll leave that to Anton to speak to. I know getting jurisdictional approvals at times can be somewhat uncertain in terms of timeline. So Anton, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that.
No, you're exactly right, Alicia. So we anticipate fall of 2026 as the kind of the furthest amount of time when those beds will come online. We are working with the state agency that's responsible for licensing to try to expedite licensing. So we're hopeful that that will happen before then. But if there are services that are needed for detox beds, I encourage the folks here to go to SUD Help LA, and I'll try to put that in the chat. And that's our service and bed availability tool that offers services, a whole host of services, SUD services that are available in communities. It has a filter that allows you to find someplace closer to you. So I encourage that, and I'll drop that in the chat. But before I complete, I also want to give an opportunity for my colleague, Damian Parker, in case he wanted to add anything about the services that'll be provided by the Department of Mental Health.
Thank you, Antoine. And I'm going to try to talk about for services, even though that is not my expertise, of what is going to be offered in both facilities. So the UCC is a 24-hour facility for people who are in crisis. They can only stay there for 24 hours. At that point, they are either taken to a higher facility or a step-down facility, but they are not let out of the facility unless there is a plan for them to have somewhere to go, or are they safe to be let go. The good thing about the UCC is you can go either to the CRTP or go up to the subacute. That is what it will be done in our next one. The subacute is a mental health facility that's basically for those individuals who have a higher need of services, and clients in there are given tools needed through comprehensive support and rehabilitation services to stabilize and go to step down units. Because there is a 16-bed minimum, so there will be 8 providers in this facility. So it's one building, but it's well, actually now 6 different providers in that building that will be providing these services. And hopefully this also helps with trying to get a lot of the patients who are in the hospitals who don't have a place to go. The subacute is somewhere they can go to lessen the crowdness in the hospitals as well. But those are the kind of facilities. So it's kind of when you think about the restorative care village and everything we're putting in there, it kind of, each individual unit is helping each other. If you're in the UCC, you can go to the subacute, or you can go in the CRTP, and vice versa. So it's a well-rounded, so every aspect of any kind of care we can provide will be all within walking distance of each other.
Thank you so much, Damian. We have a question here about, will services be contracted out for the subacute center?
Yes, there will be. There will be 6 different contracts for each one of those 16 beds.
Oh, 6 different contracts. Wonderful.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for that. If we have any additional questions for Damian and Anton, now is the moment. I am giving everyone an announcement that we're going to rejigger our agenda a little bit, because I know that one of our the presenters still to come has a hard stop at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to let Karen Parks go next, and then we will revisit the workforce development portion of our conversation as we move forward with the rest of the agenda. But I do need to move her up to make sure we get a chance for her to speak. So are there any additional questions for Damian and Anton before we close out the service portion of the Restorative Care Village conversation? All right. Barring that, like I mentioned, we do have some fabulous future conversation and presentation about workforce and training development, but I am going to push that presentation down a little bit so that we can bring Karen Parks to the podium to share an update on the Transit Ambassador Program, because I know Director Parks needs to leave us in just a few moments.
Thank you so much, Heather. I really appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to share the ambassador overview with you. The ambassadors have had a lot of dialogue with many staff at the hospital, and I would love to show the pictures at the end of the presentation. Next slide, Heather. This is our project team. I believe we have Vanessa Smith, our executive officer, on. Also, Brittany Mullins is on. She is a representative of Metro's Homeless Outreach Department. So a lot of good information. The previous presentations were really, really informative. Thank you. Next slide, please. Again, just an overview of the Metro public safety ecosystem, if you will. We have a mission for a care-based mission to support our riderships. Ambassadors specifically come from a diverse group and represent the areas that we serve. I'm going to go to the next slide, please, because I want to save some time for questions at the end. So as previously stated, ambassadors are a layer within Metro's public safety ecosystem. We share that public safety ecosystem with law enforcement partners, Metro Transit Security, again, our homeless outreach, contract security. So again, our mission is to establish a comprehensive approach to ensuring public safety on our system, to prevent and address violent crime, patrol the system, and then we work on access control, if you will, and of course, address societal issues that certainly impact our environment and certainly the hospitals as well. Next slide. So again, specifically, ambassadors are a highly visible presence on our system, and they enhance the customer experience. We deploy ambassadors for high incident deployment locations to address ADA accessible issues. And again, they provide assistance related to public safety. Just the presence of the ambassadors on our system makes our ridership feel safer. And then they report incidents of cleanliness maintenance, or graffiti or whatnot on our system. So we certainly see a correlation with cleanliness on our system and ridership. And then of course they respond to medical emergencies. Next slide. So our operating hours, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then on weekends, 8 a.m. To 10 p.m. I will also note, this is a pilot program. It began as a pilot program, a 3 to 5 year pilot. We're in our second year now. So we are looking at extending our hours, but again, these are our hours of operation related to the pilot operation. Next slide. So ambassadors are deployed in a number of ways. They work in teams of 2. We have fixed teams at our major hubs, and certainly related to the special detail negotiated between your CEO and Metro CEO. We have a fixed team at the bus stop at Marengo and State. So the fixed team is just that. They are fixed to that particular location. And then we have roving teams, and roving teams ride buses and trains, but they do exit to do station checks. And then we have riding teams, and they simply ride buses and trains and only exit to get on another bus or train. So we do have, related to the hospital special deployment, we have 2 riding teams dedicated to 2 local bus lines, the 106 and the 605 that service the hospital. Next slide, please. So this is some of our stats, if you will. Ambassadors, since our soft launch in October of 2022, have conducted over 1 million engagements. That is beyond a simple greeting. So that is just encouraging to see. That is really the core of what we do, engage our ridership. And then as noted previously, we submit reports related to cleanliness maintenance, graffiti sightings, and what we call our vertical transportation, when our elevators and escalators are out. So these numbers kind of represent the data is from, again, October 2022 to June of this year. This data represents the reports that have been submitted. You will note here live saved. This is an incredible number. Ambassadors have saved over 200 lives, 227 lives. Now you see, most of these are related to drug overdosing on our system. But again, 49 of them are related to other medical emergencies. So again, 227 lives saved by ambassadors. Next slide, please. And then I'm ending the presentation here with all of these remarkable photos that the ambassadors share with me, that hospital staff has come out and engaged them to inquire about the program, and just to note they appreciate the presence of the ambassadors at these the fixed locations, and again, as noted, the 2 riding teams. So very, very happy to share these photos. And I have several minutes to take some questions. Any questions related to the ambassador program and our partnership?
Thank you so much for joining us today, Director Parks, and your team, of course. What an exciting program, and I think from at least what I am reading in the LA Times, a very important and necessary component of the well-functioning and the safety and, like you say, cleanliness and being able to provide medical care on site as part of our metro's infrastructure. So do we have any comments or questions for Director Parks and her team?
I will also note, I see someone has a hand up. We did recently deploy a team to the Cesar Chavez Vignes bus plaza, if you will, at that corner. We certainly understand the tragic loss of Nurse Sandra Shields several years ago. So again, high visibility, and again, to address the safety concerns on our system. Yes, question?
Yeah, first I wanted to say thanks for this program. I was at Union Station and came across the opportunity to witness in action one of the service ambassadors who was needing to guide someone who obviously was not traveling, probably an in-house person, and using the space inappropriately. So, but very good at talking to them and guiding them, appropriately. So I was impressed with that person's skill and approach and tenor. The other thing that I just want to put it out there is, one of the things that we notice with LA people, young people, natives, people who grow up here, is, a lot of times they they grow up in a certain neighborhood and they just literally never leave their neighborhood. They don't know places beyond their immediate space. But yet now, with the expansion and continuing expansion of the metro system and the bus system and all that, it's an amazing opportunity for people to use it and to go to the beach or go here or go there. I know that you guys did a great a special effort around the big concerts and other games that were happening. And it was almost like a necessary. So it seems like when people need it, they'll use it, but it's not something that they rely on or are comfortable with or are trusting of. And so now I have this week, this last month, I have I know a student who's going to college. It's still in LA County, but she could use the metro or public trans to be able to get home on the weekends, but isn't feeling the safety, isn't feeling that. So I think maybe some sort of an education program, at the high school level, something like that, maybe even with parent groups. A lot of the high schools have parent gathering groups for the support of the students. So maybe that's a kind of an education process, not only to use it, but also to learn safety tactics. Also, sorry, I'm good with my questions, so I can get them
Yeah, no,
in.
thank you so much for that. And we do have a program that allows free ridership to school students. But again, we have seen ridership increase this past 18 months. So we do realize that we have some challenges. I want to allow Brittany Mullins to maybe weigh in. I see her hand up. Brittany?
Thanks, Karen. Just to your question, I was
Brittany,
I'm sorry,
your
Brittany,
there's
your audio.
a department called Community, and it's something you can Google.
Brittany,
Okay,
can
well,
you
now
put
can you
that
guys
in
hear me?
the chat? Your audio was really
Absolutely.
broken. Absolutely. Teresa, let me
Absolutely.
get your question. I have 2 minutes. Teresa, can I get your question?
I apologize, I'm not on camera. Since you're with Metro, but maybe hopefully you can answer this question. What's the update on the train, on the stop, the bus stop?
I'm
Do you
sorry.
know?
The update on the bus stop?
Yeah, we had where the freeway bus stop is.
Which bus stop exactly is that? Are you referring to?
Where the freeway is, the 10 freeway.
That's Metro Link versus.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm
my mistake.
sorry. Oh, no worries. Hey, listen, I have a hard stop, but thank you so much, Heather. Maybe if there are any additional questions, I would be more than happy to return maybe for another meeting or send me those questions, and I would love to answer those. We are very thankful for this partnership and certainly hope that we're providing a service and a comfort to your staff. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Director Parks, and your entire Metro team. It's exciting to learn about the program, and of course, we do really value our partnership with you as well. We'll let you go, so we don't
Thank you.
keep you any later for your next
Thank you.
meeting, but really appreciating you. All right. With that, I am so sorry that we're a little bit jangled in terms of our presentations today, but I would love to invite Nate Hayward and the team from Kevin De Leon's office to share with us an exciting transportation update. And then we'll revisit our conversation about workforce development and end with a wonderful presentation about the health of seniors in our community. So we're a little bit behind schedule. I'll ask everyone to try to keep your presentation as tight as possible. But Nate, we're really excited to have you and your colleagues with us today. So I'll let you take it away, and I will stop sharing so you can start sharing.
Well, thank you so much, Heather. I'll let our team, Amit or Joe, I think one of you guys can share your screen. While they do that, my name is Nate Hayward, Deputy Chief of Staff for Council Member Kevin De Leon. We represent the area around LA General and all the great communities around here, from Ramona Gardens, Boyle Heights, Lincoln Heights, and El Sereno. I'm going to turn it over to our team in just a second. Essentially, this project was born out of the the termination of the 710 idea that had existed for 60 to 70 years. And the supervisor's office worked very closely to secure funding for LA County and LA City from the money that was going to be used to build the freeway. Part of that money came to the city, and that is what we're seeing is the 710 North Mobility Improvement Projects. So as you can see, if you could, just keep that right there. The 710 projects include projects along Valley/Mission, Huntington/Mission, and Eastern Avenue. Those are the key main corridors in El Sereno that in Lincoln Heights at this project 710 money is funding. So today we're going to talk more about the Valley project, but just to give you a context, this has really been a partnership between the city and the county. It started with the idea of actually how do we get people to LA General, right? Because we have a freeway, a railroad tracks, all the stuff over time, the infrastructure sort of been built out in a way that it's sort of isolated it, right? And one of the key thoughts was, okay, well, we have people, coming from Union Station, or we have people coming from Cal State LA, or all these areas, but we don't have ways to connect them. So the idea really became, how do you connect these key destinations and make it easier for the community, for patients, et cetera, to be able to travel between the destinations? So what you're going to hear more about is the sort of the community work that's gone into this, the community meetings, the discussion, some of the project scope. And we'll try and keep, obviously, the presentation short so our team can answer questions. I have a hard stop at 10:15, but they'll be here to fully answer questions and all that. So with that, I'll turn it over to our Parsons team. Amit and Joe, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here presenting the project to this committee. My name is Amit Shah with Parsons. We are working with Nate and City in the planning and the alternative analysis phase on this project. So as Nate gave us a nice overview of the project, next few slides, we are going to get into more details about Valley Boulevard, some of the community engagement we had to date, stakeholder coordination, and also present some of the alternatives that were evaluated and we are further advancing, and then kind of close it off with next steps and questions from this committee, if any. So as shown in this map, the Valley Boulevard limits basically start from the 710 terminus and then making a left onto Mission Road and providing connection up to LA Union Station. As Nate pointed out, I mean, Valley Boulevard Mission Road is really critical to provide mobility and connection to several key destinations, USC Medical Center, Cal State, LA Union Station, several recreational parks along this corridor, and really is kind of the backbone for the mobility along this corridor. But it does have several challenges, as Nate pointed out, from a multimodal mobility standpoint, which we'll get into more detail. So the goal is really to look at opportunities to improve mobility and accessibility in an equitable manner. We want to connect communities providing access to education, healthcare, as well as the transit center with the Union Station around. And also want to increase and enhance the green space to create a much healthier community along this corridor. We also have a UP railroad that kind of separates the communities and hampers the mobility. So we also want to look at opportunities to provide safe railroad crossings potentially at these along this corridor. So with the nature of work involved, we have taken a holistic approach looking into phasing the project into near-term improvements and long-term improvements. And our focus and emphasis today is going to be on the near-term improvements, where it's primarily going to focus along Valley Boulevard mission to provide that multimodal mobility and access along this corridor. As we go along, if the team has any questions, please let us know and we can have open conversations. Stakeholder engagement, as Nate pointed out, has been one of the key cornerstones of this project. Several major agencies are involved, LA Metro, LA County, USC Medical Center, Union Pacific, and several other community-based organizations. For the last 2 years, we had extensive collaboration and coordination with all of these agencies, one seeking input from them, understanding what their concerns are, and implementing their concerns into our project alternatives as we will be further presenting those. So community engagement, which has been a very critical part of this project. We did a very robust community outreach using various tools, reaching out to local residences, businesses, all the educational institutions along this corridor. We used a variety of tools, including press releases, direct mails, email blasts for almost more than 25,000 addresses, social media, text, as well as using the LA BOE and the council district's websites, and also did door-to-door word of mouth to really let the community be aware of the project and get input from them. So our project started in 2021 summer timeframe when we still were in the mix of COVID. So in May 2021 and April of 2022, we conducted 2 virtual meetings, which were well attended. Almost more than 100 participants attended. We received 60 plus comments. And the real intent of the first 2 meetings was to hear from the community what their concerns are. How can we improve those mobility concerns, providing true accessibility, safe accessibility for all modes of users. And then as we gathered that information, last year we conducted 2 in-person meetings in June and October. Again, as you can see here, were attended by more than 200 participants, where we kind of presented some of our alternatives. And then in the last meeting, we help community kind of screen those alternatives and at least provide input on their locally preferred alternatives. So point with all this is the robust community engagement, which has helped us develop the alternatives that really meet the community's goals, as well as the council and the city's goals of improving multimodal mobility. I'll go through some of these slides quickly now. I mean, we had analyzed 2 alternatives. Both were a combination of having improvements on the roadway, transit improvements, complete streets improvement, improving the on-street parking, and so on. But through all the engagement process, alternative 3, which again will present in more detail, was the most preferred alternative by the community. the community overwhelmingly voted in support of that alternative 3, which primarily consists of 2 travel lanes as well as 1 mixed bus lanes during the peak period. It also consists of 1 dedicated cycle track, which is going to facilitate that multimodal active transportation elements. And we are closing the gaps in the sidewalks, providing extensive green space, maintaining on-street parking, and really looking into holistic multimodal improvements along the corridor. I know a lot is being presented, so I'll just pause here for a second, see if anyone has any questions, as we have a few more slides to present.
I think Amit, maybe you want to go to the
Okay.
folks and show them the renderings and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
so we'll show now. Here's kind of all the interesting part about all our actual improvements. So I'll quickly touch base. I mean, the challenges around this corridor are lack of accessibility for the pedestrians. I mean, we have degraded roadways, lack of sidewalks, crosswalks. We don't have connectivity for bicycles, pedestrians. We have transit service, but we don't have safe access to transit service. Several bus stops are missing. There are no crosswalks along those bus stops. And due to the railroad, which is parallel to Valley Boulevard, it really hampers the connectivity and mobility from one side to other side. Here's just some information of existing traffic along Mission Boulevard and Valley. Both of them roughly carry 25,000 average traffic throughout the day. And several of the intersections along the corridor are operating at a reasonable level of service. But the critical component to point out is because of the railroad, which oftentimes blocks the access, we have seen several collisions and accidents occurring along this corridor. In the last 5-year window, there have been more than 200 collisions along Mission and almost 300 plus collisions along Valley. So we also want to make the corridor safe, not only for the pedestrians, but also for the vehicular traffic by implementing some of these improvements to provide safety along the corridor. We looked at the project into 3 main segments because each segment has varying constraints and characteristics. So we want to make sure our design alternatives kind of fit into each of these categories, going from Mission to Valley intersection, and then from Valley Mission intersection all the way up to Eastern, and then from Eastern all the way up to 710. So here's kind of a quick summary of different alternatives that were evaluated and more importantly presented to the community. A lot of these alternatives have similarities in some sense, but alternative 3 overwhelmingly provides the holistic elements of a multimodal elements with the continuous sidewalks, cycle track, additional green space, bus only lanes during the peak period, and then also considering the railroad quiet zone improvements at the 3 at-grade crossings along Valley Boulevard. So I'm going to have Joe from our team kind of get into more details of each of these segments, and then we'll talk about the next steps and opening for Q&A. So Joe, if you could cover these next few slides high level quickly.
For sure. I'll try to go quickly. So yeah, just a quick introduction. My name is Joe Carbajal. I'm with the Parsons team assisting this LABOE and the Council District 14 in the development of this project. Now to go into a little more detail, like I said, I'll try to be quick, of alternative 3 for the 3 segments, since alternative 3 was the preferred alternative that we're moving forward with. So starting with segment 1, which goes from LA Union Station to Valley Boulevard along Cesar Chavez and Mission Road. The segment does cover Cesar Chavez, but we did, during this phase of the project, we determined that Cesar Chavez is to remain in the existing configuration, and that's due to the limited available space along the historic bridge. So any improvements that we would make to Cesar Chavez would impact that bridge quite drastically, so we avoided that. So the improvements actually start at the Mission and Cesar Chavez intersection and then continue north along Mission. Some key features along the segment includes 2 travel lanes each direction, a class 2 bike lane on each side of the roadway. There is some center median left turns. We do have some sidewalk. There is some limited on-street parking and very sparse street lighting in each direction. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So alternative 3, which is the preferred alternative, what we're proposing is modifying the curb along the corridor or along the segment and accommodating 2 travel lanes in each direction, with that right lane in each direction being a bus lane during the peak period. The bicycle facility they were introducing is a cycle track in the southbound direction. So we're moving those class 2 at the street level onto a separated class 4 cycle track behind the curb. We are upgrading the sidewalks in each direction and accommodating additional green space. Out there today, there is no raised median, and so we've taken this opportunity to provide a mix of striped and raised medians on the street. We do provide some on-street parking along this segment, but space is limited, so it's more at the park location. But along segment 1, there is some locations. And then we are upgrading all the street and pedestrian lighting on both sides of the roadway. I'll go and go to the next slide. So here's just a snapshot of an existing condition. This is at the Mission Road and Zonal Avenue intersection. What's out there today, and if you go to the next slide, we have a little rendering that shows the upgrade. So you can see the introduction of the cycle track, the shifting of the curbs, the introduction of the right lanes as the bus only lanes during the peak period, additional facilities as the bus festivals, a lot of added sidewalk tree wells, upgraded sidewalk, etc. Go to the next slide. So here's another snapshot along Mission Road of the existing conditions. So you can see no raised median, sidewalk is kind of sparse. Bicycle facility is that class 2 in each direction, which is kind of hard to see here. But if you go to the next slide, you see the rendering of what we're introducing as part of the project. So you can see a shifting of the roadway within the existing right-of-way. Expansion of the sidewalks, the addition of that class 4 cycle track on the southbound side of Mission Road, and a lot of added green space in the form of the sidewalk areas and also that center median. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So this is at the Mission Road and Lincoln Park, Mission Road and Valley Boulevard intersection in that Lincoln Park de Mexico area of that intersection. So I'll go over a little bit later of the improvements, what we're going on here, but this is the existing condition. We're planning to expand the park by moving the Main Street westbound direction onto the Valley Boulevard. I guess what today is the eastbound direction. So kind of combining those two together and utilizing that existing Main Street roadway area as park expansion in the form of cycle track, additional sidewalk, additional park use, etc. We have some layouts and renderings and a few other slides later that shows this a little better.
Yeah, I think I would like to just add, like, this was one of the key components the community was interested to see how potentially the park could be expanded. And because right now both the parks are separated by the roadway and not so easily accessible. And now with the cycle track, we have the opportunity to expand the park by almost, like Joe, if I recollect, by acre plus, which will again really give the opportunity for the community and the kids to be out there in the fresh air, away from the traffic, because it's going to be shifted away further south. So this will kind of make it safe, accessible, as well as a lot of green space for the community.
That's correct. Okay, moving on to segment 2. This is the portion between Mission Road and Eastern Avenue along Valley Boulevard. So we're covering Lincoln Park. We start to become adjacent to the UP Railroad on the southbound side of the road, and then moving up to Eastern Avenue just prior to the Eastern Avenue Bridge. So some existing features similar to segment 1 is we have the 2 travel lanes in each direction, center median left turn, so no raised medians, just striped. We do have sidewalk in the westbound direction. In the eastbound direction, there is portions where there is no sidewalk available. And we're looking to, as part of our project in Alternative 3, we're looking to close off those gaps to help with the pedestrian flow. We do have street lighting in each direction. And like I mentioned before, that UP Railroad is on the south side and runs parallel to Valley Boulevard.
Hey, Joe, could you quickly also cover the 3 at-grade crossings in this segment, just That's San
Yeah. Sorry, we do have 3 at-grade crossings with the UP Railroad. The first one's at San Pablo, which you see the cursor here, just adjacent to Lincoln Park. We do have another one at Vineburn, and then another one at Boca, right before that curve happened. So, and I think that Amit had covered those railroad quiet zones at those locations. That's where they would be implemented. So, some points of how the alternative 3 cross section is being applied to segment 2. Similar to segment 1, we are modifying the existing curb, so utilizing the available space in between the existing right of way. Having 2 traveling each direction, that bus lane during the peak period in each direction. The cycle track is going to be adjacent to the park on the westbound direction of Valley Boulevard. As you can see here, again, we're trying to utilize the available space to expand the sidewalks and green space in the form of the tree wells in the sidewalk or a raised median. This is adjacent to Lincoln Park. There is existing parking on the westbound side, right next to the park. We are keeping that as well, as you can see here in the cross section. And then also we are expanding the street and pedestrian lighting along this portion. Go on to the next slide. So here's a snapshot of that segment 2, looking westbound towards Lincoln Park along Valley Boulevard. So existing condition, you see Lincoln Park here, you see the UP Railroad adjacent to it, you see that parking alongside it. This is the proposed condition. So you can see that that closure of Main Street, not closure, shifting of Main Street, and utilizing that space for park expansion with the cycle track, sidewalk, and then the roadway improvements as well. So a lot of green space, the raised median, the parking kept along along Lincoln Park. So yeah, just a snapshot of what that proposed condition looks like. Looking in the eastbound direction, so this is along Valley Boulevard, looking towards Boca. So existing condition, this is actually a good snapshot to point out that in that eastbound direction, there's no sidewalk right now today. We do have bus stops on that side too, so not very accommodating for pedestrians we'll just use that side of the roadway and also getting to the bus stops. In our proposed condition, you go to the next slide, you'll see an expansion of what our project's trying to provide. So similar to the other renderings as well, that introduction of the cycle track. This one actually shifts to the eastbound side of the direction. There's multiple reasons for that, but we do have a cycle track being provided as a bicycle facility. You can now see the expansion of the sidewalk. So before we didn't have sidewalk along the railroad side of the road. We've introduced that now as part of the alternative 3 layouts. A lot of additional green space in the form of trees, utilizing any available space to provide additional small park space. You can kind of see in that area where Amit's pointing out that play area as a possibility because it's really not utilized today. And then as far from a roadway standpoint, you can see it's similar to the other segment with the 2 lanes in each direction, with that right lane as being a bus only during the peak period. Going on the next slide. So like I said before, I wanted to provide a snapshot of how that Lincoln Park and Park de Mexico expansion is being applied. So this is what's out there today. That Main Street, Valley Boulevard area is split by Park de Mexico. So if you're heading eastbound, you go on Valley Boulevard on that bottom side. If you're heading westbound, you head on Main Street on that north side. And so Lincoln Park is kind of separated, or sorry, Park de Mexico is kind of separated from Lincoln Park today. So it's not utilized that well or that much. It's hard to get to. Our proposed condition, as I mentioned before, shifts over that Main Street westbound direction onto Valley Boulevard. And we utilize that Main Street space, previous roadway space, as park expansion for Park de Mexico and Lincoln Park. So before we pause, just another rendering snapshot. This is on the Main Street today, looking westbound towards Mission Road, with that Park de Mexico on the left side, Lincoln Park on the right side. And this is what we're proposing for that shift and closure and utilizing that Main Street roadway for park expansion. We'll pause here really quickly. Any questions so far? Those were kind of the more complicated sections. Segment 3 is kind of straightforward.
Any questions from the audience?
Okay.
These kinds of changes and proposals, is there a way that, I know we're going to post what you've presented to us, but if there's another resource for folks to see what the community feedback has been like, if there's other ways for them to engage as you're going through this process, that would be helpful, even if you could put that in the chat.
Sorry, could you repeat? It's maybe I just had a bad connection. So it's how we engage the community, share more information with this group, or how we plan to engage the community in the future also.
Correct, because if this is the first time they're seeing, these.
No, they've actually seen all this several times. I mean, we've presented this concepts to the community at least. We had 4 rounds of meetings to the community, and then all these concepts were presented to the community in the meetings. And then based on these concepts, they did like a voting and then selected this like as a preferred alternative. And as the project goes into the next development phase, we also plan to have like regular community update meetings to present some of these design findings and more details to them. So yes, absolutely. We have been engaging the community, had 4 rounds of meetings. And now as we move into the next phase, there will be additional community meetings and engagement sessions. We also have, and maybe I didn't touch bases, besides the community meetings, we also have CBO organizations, which consist of almost 15 to 20 different members who are actively engaged. We meet with them on a quarterly basis, share updates with them regularly, and then also have them kind of share more updates directly with their community members. So it's like a 2-layered approach. We meet with the CBOs, get feedback from them, and then also as we meet with the actual community, the CBOs are also providing their input in the design progression. So that way it's more of a collaborative effort. And we'll be more than happy to share or invite you to some of our future meetings as we have with CBO if you would be interested.
Wonderful. We'd love to partner with you on that so that we can get the word out and share more. And even like what you shared today, if there's a way for us to
yeah, and I think
summarize, for our partnership members, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. And I think what we can do is like after this meeting, we can share the presentation with you folks. If you need to also share it internally with your teams or other resources, because again, all this information has been shared with the community. So, the more the merrier, and getting more word out there will be helpful for the project.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks so much.
Yeah. So Joe, let's just quickly go through the next ones so we keep some time for Q&A.
Yeah. So keep going. All segment 3. This segment is the eastern side of the project is along Valley Boulevard. Continues from Eastern Avenue up to the 710 terminus. Very similar to the other segments as far as the existing features with the 2 travel lanes each direction. The center median for left turns, not raised, it's all striped today. We do have sidewalk in each direction, but we do want to point out that along the railroad, today they're similar to segment 2. We don't have sidewalk for a good stretch. Alternative 3 does propose to close off those gaps and provide sidewalk for pedestrian use. We do have on-street parking on the north side and south side of the roads because there's quite a few businesses along this stretch that alternative tries to accommodate as well. Street lighting each direction, and like I mentioned before, the railroad is now on the UP Railroad is now on the north side of the roadway, which is a little different than what segment 2 has. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So proposed condition along segment 3, the alternative 3 layout, similar to segment 2 and segment 1, we are modifying the curbs to provide the different multimodal features. For roadway, we do have two travel in each direction. Again, that bus lane on the outside in each direction during the peak period. The cycle track, similar to segment 1 and 2, we have in the eastbound direction, adjacent to the businesses, expanding upon the sidewalks and green space. You can see here along the railroad, we are closing off that gap that I mentioned before that sidewalk's not out there today, but the alternative is proposing it to help with pedestrian flow. We do accommodate on-street parking adjacent to the businesses, because that was very important to the community. And then, of course, expanding upon the street and pedestrian lighting along this segment. Going on to the rendering. So existing condition out there today. So this is kind of this beginning of segment 3. You can see the businesses on the left side in the northbound direction and the railroad on the south side of southbound side of Valley Boulevard. You can kind of see that no sidewalk location too adjacent to the railroad. So if you go to the next slide, here is the applied alternative 3. So that sidewalk is now introduced on the southbound side of Valley. It's kind of similar to segment 2. There is bus stops along this portion. So today it's kind of hard to get to and a little bit dangerous, but with this proposed alternative 3, it does accommodate and help with pedestrian flow and use of those bus stops along the railroad side of the road.
So one thing I would like to point out, and as you can see from these renderings, is we are almost repurposing the existing Valley Boulevard to provide all the multimodal elements. I mean, the key thing to point out is to provide these type of improvements, dedicated cycle tracks, sidewalks, bus lanes, all are being made available within the existing right-of-way, and no additional right-of-way required to implement these improvements. So, and that's where the community was in a big support of it, is, okay, we are almost repurposing the Valley Boulevard to provide all the key multimodal elements, safe accessibility and bike path, sidewalks, even bus lanes, transit improvements, and all these ADA improvements. And that's where it kind of really piqued community's interest, is to implement these type of improvements. Okay, are you going to do widening, and is it going to impact my property? And our response was no, and we all make it fit within the existing available space.
And are we removing lanes? That was another big thing too. We had to reiterate that no, we're keeping the same amount of lanes. So
okay.
So yeah, here's just a summary of what alternative 3 provides relative to the existing condition. So just to highlight some of the key elements that people do like to point out. So from a pedestrian standpoint, the sidewalk length, like I had pointed out before, is that we do close off a lot of gaps. So we are providing 48,000 linear feet, which is about a 20% increase from what's out there today. ADA ramps and crosswalks are all going to be upgraded. On-street parking, we still are providing. There is a little bit of a reduction, but we still are accommodating those key areas for parking. Street and pedestrian lighting, it's a big upgrade from what's out there today. Left turn pockets is something we're still accommodating. Green space was a big highlight for this project, and that's the form of just general landscaping, trees, and that park expansion. So trees, we are upgrading quite a bit. So we're accommodating 1,800, which is about a 450% increase. Landscaping, we're trying to utilize all available space within that existing right-of-way in the form of landscaping. So that's tree wells, strip landscaping, and park expansion. So you can see we're adding about 3.5 acres in total for landscaping, and that park expansion is quite a bit as well. Bicycle facility, segment 1 is the only one that has the class 2 bike facility in the existing condition. This project is adding that class 4 cycle track, protected cycle track for the whole duration of the project. So it's a 42,000 linear feet in total, which is about 100% increase.
Joe, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we are running quite a bit behind time. How many more slides do we have left in the presentation?
That is the last.
Okay,
yeah,
well then we're right.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're talking about it now, but if you could just give us those high-level wrap-up points, that would be really terrific.
Yeah, so I think I'll just say extensive coordination has been ongoing with several stakeholders and communities. So we completed the alternative analysis phase based on communities' impact or input, advancing and working on the alternative 3 to get the environmental clearance, which we are expecting to be done by end of this year, working with Caltrans. And then we are hoping to start the final design phase in spring of 2025. One thing I do want to point out, city and the county has been a great partner. I think they have allocated almost $60 million for this project. And the city has been actively looking for additional funds, including active transportation funds at the state level and other local funding sources to kind of find the additional funds required to fully implement this project. But I think overall, I mean, all the stakeholders are in support, community is in support, and as you saw from our presentation, key elements to improve mobility and accessibility are added, which will really help benefit the community and all the major stakeholders along the corridor, including most of you folks. So that's it from our side.
Okay, thank you. We do have a couple questions and comments in the chat. The first is, the projected timeline question, which I think is being answered here. But do you have any additional detail on the different phases of the project and the timeline?
So
related?
right now, as we are in the environmental phase, which is expected to be done by end of this year, since city already has allocated $60 million, they are hoping to take this project right away into the final design phase, which if starts early spring of 2025, should take around 18 months or so to go through the final design, which also will give the city and the council district time to look for the remaining funding gap. And the goal is by end of 2026, spring of 27, take the project into construction, which may take maybe 2 years plus minus to build it. So the goal is by end of 2028, if we are able to secure the funds, it should be up and running for the community.
Great, thank you. There is a question also from Francisco saying, and this is as quotes, my big issue is that this is a corridor that contains a ton of industrial uses, so there are very few pedestrian uses along this way. That's why this area served for many unhoused people in RVs before they were removed. This is a traffic corridor between people commuting, so it seems like a lot of work for few pedestrians.
I think we did analyze, and I'll go back to that slide. I mean, it's kind of a catch-22. I mean, when we met with the community, several folks said like there are no safe accessible sidewalks, curb ramps. That's where you don't see a lot of pedestrian activity. And then we also have seen like recreational use, and also looking into overall city goals, Caltrans goals is to promote the multimodal mobility. So again, the key here is we are not taking lanes away, we are not taking new right of way, we are repurposing the existing roadway to provide all the elements for all modes of users. So that's how we've been kind of able to do. It's not like compromising on the vehicular movement and saying, okay, let's give the space for the pedestrians and the bicyclists. So we did look into it, and this kind of fits into what the city goals are, Caltrans goals are, state goals are, to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and promote multimodal mobility.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. We do have a couple comments as well saying, I think it's an excellent proposal and the alternative of these road projects is exciting. Thank you. And I will echo that. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today and sharing these updates with us. I'm sure we'd love to, invite you back for kind of quick summary updates along the way as these different phases and milestones are met. With that, I'm going to push to our next and final presentation of the day. As we know, we've gone a bit over schedule with the previous presenters, so I've rescheduled our Health for Seniors update to a future meeting, but we are going to conclude today's conversation with a quick update from our colleagues at the Los Angeles City College District about some of the training and workforce development programs that they have, particularly as it pertains to the construction trades and the and healthcare workforce, I think. That being said, we may not get to everything that they have to present on today, but we will certainly invite them back in the future to share more. With that, I thank very much the team from Metro and from Kevin De Leon's office to share with us on the Valley Multimodal Project. So thank you so much for your presentation today. And with that, Nick and Anna, I invite you to take it away.
Hi, good morning, Heather. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us, and we'll try to keep this quick to finish on time today. As you may or may not know, the Los Angeles Community College District is the largest district in the nation. We have 9 colleges that make up the district, and we're currently building another campus that's going to be an extension of the East LA Community College in Southgate. So we're growing not only on each campus, but we're growing the district itself with our Build LACCD program. And Build LACCD is the district's construction program. That's where all of the projects are funded mostly by the bond measures that have been passed, sometimes in partnership with some state funding as well, but majority of the projects are funded by the bond measures that have been voter approved in the past. We are the largest. Our colleges cover nearly 900 square miles. We educate approximately 220,000 students per year. And I checked UCLA's student population numbers, and they have, with their undergraduates and graduates, only 46,000 students on campus. So we are definitely educating quite a number of future leaders and workers and community advocates with our programs. So at this point, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Nick Barrios, who's our manager of our community economic development team, and he'll walk you through the next few slides. So Nick, just let me know when you want me to advance the slides.
Okay, great. Thanks, Anna. Thank you to everyone, and thank you for having us today. Just real quick, just want to go over some board policies, some of the district's board policies when the Build LACCD, which is a construction building program, was implemented. We have our community-based enterprise program, which is community business enterprise program, which is also really known as our local small emerging disabled veteran business program. So we have a 30% goal on all construction contracts and professional service agreements. So pretty much anything that we procure, there is a 30% LSCD goal where we want to have 30% of the dollars paid go to firms that are certified as local small emerging or disabled veteran businesses. And overall, we're currently at 48%. So it's something that we're very proud of. Our local hire program, which is what I'm going to be concentrating on today, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more in detail, but we do have a 35% local district resident participation goal, which means that we want to see the workforce on our construction programs, at least 35% of it per project reside within the local district zip codes. We have a very robust paid internship program for LACCD students so that they can participate here at the construction building program. And then we have our project labor agreement with the LAOC building trades. Next slide, please, Anna. Our local worker hire program is really implemented to enhance opportunities for local residents living within the district zip codes. These are public dollars that are funding all of our projects through voter approved bond measures. So the local residents are voting yes to these bond measures that allow all of these great projects to take place. So we want to make sure that's recycled back into the local district through the local district communities through workforce. We facilitate the hiring of LACCD students who've gone through any of the LACCD construction programs, local and transitional or targeted workers, and veterans that have gone through pre-apprenticeship programs, either through community-based organizations or something that's been administered through the LAOC building trades. And yeah, so we facilitate the sponsorship. So basically what we do is we identify union signatory contractors who are willing to hire an LACCD student, a community resident who, again, has a construction background or may be socially or economically disadvantaged and is looking to get into the construction industry. Next slide. So like I mentioned earlier, we have a 35% goal on all our construction projects. With wanting local district resident participation. So we have zip codes that pertain to the colleges. That's that first tier and second tier zip code. So basically they can reside within any of the we call first tier if it would, like, let's say it's a project at Valley College, that would be first tier, and then second tier would be any of the other 8 colleges. So it is a very large geographical area, as we have a college all the way from Sanford, Sylmar, all the way out to Harbor College in San Pedro or in Wilmington. Students who have completed the district's construction maintenance and utilities program at Trade Tech College will be considered local regardless of where they reside. So if a contractor hires an LACCD student who's gone through this program, they will be considered local regardless of where they reside. And we did this in order to entice the contractors to hire more local workers, as even though it is a goal, the levers that we do have to holding these contractors accountable is that on future pursuits, we get 20% of the overall score on their future pursuits. So it can really make a difference on how they've done with their local hire goals, what type of outreach efforts they're doing to bring in more local district resident workers, and then also if they're working with us or have worked with other public agencies, local hire program, the facilitation of local and socially or economically challenged individuals onto their projects. And then We also consider veterans local regardless of where they reside. And again, that's also to entice more hiring of veteran workers. We have a transitional worker hiring goal of 10%. So a transitional worker is an individual who's socially or economically challenged in some kind of way. And there you could see all of the criteria. I won't go through it because I know we're a little bit of tight on time, but you could see what qualifies a local transitional worker there. And then we have a 10% veteran goal on our construction projects as well. Next slide, please, Anna. So these are our local hire numbers. That first pie chart there is since 2015, and this is since 2015. Excuse me, that first pie chart there encompasses all of our large and small projects. So we're just barely meeting the threshold at 35%. We are our large general contractors as of the past 4 years that are participating in our program have been diversified. So that's something that we're really, really happy about because we're getting a lot of new large general contractors who are really dedicated to meeting and exceeding the local hire goals from the years of like 2015 to 2018. We're kind of getting the same general contractor, one in particular working on our projects, and they weren't really meeting or exceeding the goals. So we're starting to see an uptick in that. I think currently we're actually at like 36%, so it's already gone up. That middle pie chart there is for our PQSP projects. Those are smaller projects that range from 25,000 to 5 million that we bid out for smaller firms to act as prime contractors. They actually get a lot of points towards their pre-qualification for just being certified as local, small, emerging, or disabled veterans. So on that bench, we have like 82 of the dollars paid on primes and subs have gone, 82% of the dollars paid have gone to firms that are certified as local, small, emerging, or disabled veterans. So then the local hire number is 51%. One of the reasons why that's significantly higher than our overall number is because we're getting a lot of small local firms who are bidding these projects, and that's what this program, the PQSP, was made for, so that they could act as primes, and therefore they're bringing on small local subs who are bringing on more local workforce. Same thing with our job projects. Those are job order contracts. Those only go up to $1 million. So same thing, small local firms bidding as primes on this work, and then the subs are small local and bringing on local workforce. And then our overall LA County number is really strong. It's at 63%. LAOC is 72% since we do have an agreement with the LAOC building trade. So overall, the county numbers are really well, but we do tend to concentrate a lot of our district numbers, local district numbers, because again, the local district residents are the ones voting yes on these bond measures to fund all these projects. Next slide, please, Anna. Program compliance. So like I mentioned, our leverage is on the RFQs and the proposals, future pursuits of these large GCs. We just don't ask and provide a number on how you did with your local hire participation. We ask for a narrative, the outreach, what they did, what unions they worked with, what community-based organizations they work with, how many placements or hiring of transitional or local community residents did you facilitate on the project? And if they've never done any projects with us, we ask for project examples with other agencies and we call and verify the information. We attend all the PLA pre-job meetings to remind the contractors of this local hire goal, provide recovery plans when the goals are not met. We conduct regular site visits to monitor the local transitional and veteran worker participation. And then we send out we post monthly reports on our website so that all that information is public. So I mentioned earlier the facilitation of placement and hiring of LACCD students and community residents who are socially or economically disadvantaged. So we've done 208 placements since 2014. Again, it's not mandatory, so our team has to do our due diligence and really trying to convince union signatory contractors to hire these new students and put them in as brand new apprentices at level 1. So these are just some of the numbers and the different programs that we work with on the left there in blue. So a lot of them do come from our LA Tech Construction Maintenance and Utility Program. We work with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, which is an organization, nonprofit organization that helps individuals who were previously incarcerated, and they have a construction program. My Brother's Keeper, which is with the Carpenters. Flint Ridge is a program that helps keep socially and economically disadvantaged individuals off the streets. And then there's just that box on the right in yellow just shows how many of the different trades have participated, how many of the different trades that these individuals have elected to go through. Next slide, please, Anna. These are just some sponsorship placement highlights here of some different workers. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm pretty sure all the presentations will be shared, so you'll be able to see them. Next slide. So I'll leave it off with this. We do an annual industry day. So our first one was in March of 2023 last year at East LA College. And the idea behind this event is that we approached I believe 5 to 6 high schools in the East LA College areas, juniors and seniors. And then we invited we invited all the building trades. So the carpenters, plumbers, cement masons, operators, laborers, all of them were there to expose the construction industry to these high school students. You know, college isn't for everyone, and that's totally fine. But we want to let them know how great of a career path it could be if they're interested in joining one of the trades. You know, there's great pay, great pensions, amazing benefits for themselves and their families. And a lot of young people aren't aware of this, and that is a career path, or that, you know, you would even belong to a union. So we were very, very proud of this. We had 150 students, and we also had some of our general contractors, construction management, project management firms who provide internships to young individuals during the summer or when they begin college. So they were also there. So it was really to expose them to the architectural, construction, and engineering industry. Next slide, Anna, please. And then we just had one at Southwest College. We had around 120 students, so it was the same idea. So we're doing this on an annual basis, and next year we'll be moving it to the Valley. But this was a really, really great event. Again, exposing these young individuals to a fantastic industry that can provide great, great careers. And I think that's my last slide, and I'll turn it back over to Anna. Thank you so much.
Yes, Nick mentioned that college isn't for everyone, and sometimes the traditional college path isn't, but our colleges are for everyone in that we are offering not only degree programs, but workforce certificate programs as well. We have several different types of career paths, and Nick had mentioned, you know, at Trade Tech, we have the construction, maintenance, and utilities career path, but at various campuses, we have not only construction, but renewable energy, veterinary medicine, for those folks who are connected to LA General Medical Center. Our nursing and allied health care programs are growing fast and furious, and we're providing new and state-of-the-art facilities for future nurses to train within. And we are actually in California, the community college system is now being allowed to offer certain bachelor degree programs. And right now we have 5 bachelor degrees being offered through 4 of our colleges and proposed, and we don't know when the timing will be on this, but we have applied for being able to offer a bachelor's degree in nursing as well. So hopefully, you know, not only will folks be able to get their AA degrees or workforce certificates in the healthcare industry, but then hopefully lower cost bachelor degree programs as well for the future. Okay, I think we did it.
I think you did it. You guys were masterful at running through a lot of really powerful information very quickly at the end of a long meeting. So I super appreciate Nick and Anna for coming and doing this lightning fast presentation to us today. I thought it dovetailed so nicely with some of the comments that Alicia was making earlier in the day about the construction projects that are forthcoming on our campus and the needs for talented local workforce, but people that may need a few years under their belt that aren't going to come in as newbies to those projects. So now is the time to really be investing in kind of this workforce development, building that pipeline of talent to get the training and get the experience that they need so that they can participate in some of the workforce opportunities that are coming here on this campus. But it's fantastic to see how LACCD is really growing its footprint, including bachelor's degrees, really hitting a lot of the areas where I feel like we see workforce needs and we see shortfalls in the current workforce in our community. So with that, we are done with today's presentation for HICP. Does anyone have a question or a comment for our LACCD team?
Heather, I think we had told Isidro we would come back to him. I'm sure he probably, you know, is tight on time as well. Does he want to do it next time?
I can do it next time, no problem, no worries.
Or how long is your update, Isidro?
I mean, probably just a minute, because basically what LACDD CCD shared is similar in effect, but going back to the presentation. And good morning. Yes.
Go ahead, Isidro.
Isidro Villanueva, the Department of Economic Opportunity. Going back to the presentation by my colleague Alicia Ramos. So we're here to assist with the local hire efforts. So we'll be coordinating with our Department of Public Works, and again, identifying the jobs as construction begins and rolls out over the next 2 years in 2 different phases. And again, we'll make sure that we identify the jobs, communicate and recruit the jobs here through the HICP. And then, like was mentioned in this presentation here, people who are interested in learning more about training, the East Los Angeles Occupational Center, in partnership with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, offers what they call the multi-craft core curriculum MC3 training, which is where we'll probably be recruiting most of our local hire or targeted workers. So people who are interested can start to look into that training program. But again, we'll be working in partnership with Public Works to again identify and highlight the jobs as the work or the construction unfolds over the next couple of years. And then also hoping to work with our partners at Public Health and Mental Health to then also look at the jobs that will be inside within the facilities. So getting people ready for those jobs in 2026 and 2027 as well. So thank you. And I also put in the chat some current recruitments for some trainings for entry-level positions with the county, and then for some social services sector jobs. Some of those, or some of our previous graduates for the Careers for a Cause, actually ended up working at Metro as those transit ambassadors as well. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isidro. Really appreciating that. And sorry to have squeezed you in right there at the end, and sorry to have squeezed that in, Heather, while you were trying to wrap the meeting.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. I apologize for neglecting to bring Isidro back for your final comments. Thank you so much for sharing that that information in the chat. Definitely, I see just wonderful resources coming available in the community that hopefully tie people back to long-term job opportunities here on our campus and in the local area. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today for our July Health Innovation Community Partnership meeting. We will conclude ourselves now and let you all go back to your regular routines on a Friday. Please remember, we will not be hosting an HICP meeting in August. Our next meeting will be Friday, September 4th, and it will be in person at the LA General Inpatient Tower with a Zoom participation option. So thanking one and all for joining us, and thank you especially to our incredible presenters for your patience with our agenda shifts today, and of course for bringing your talent and your time to our meeting to share to share this incredible information and resource with all of us. So thank you one and all. Have a wonderful rest of your summer, and we'll see you in September.
Thank you.
Happy summer, everyone.